And it looks like we are rolling. Hey guys, how's it going? It's your buddy Jake Dominguez back with another movie review. Today, I'm going to review the brand new Marvel film, Thor Ragnarok. Ragnarok is such a funny word. It's such a mouthful to say. I always got to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, so brand new Marvel film. We get a couple of these seems like every year now. We already got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming this year. There's more to come. They're not going to stop coming. How is Thor Ragnarok? Well, let's talk about it. So the plot of this brand new Thor movie is how do I explain this? This is always the hardest part of these movie reviews, is kind of trying to explain the plot and this is always the thing that kind of messes me up. But it turns out the movie is about Thor going against a villain named Hela, who has a bit of a family connection to him, let's say. And she's coming over to fulfill this ancient prophecy to take over Asgard and to destroy it and do all sorts of evil stuff. Thor wants to stop it, but Hela is so powerful that she basically takes out him and his brother Loki, and Thor and Loki are sent over to this ancient alien planet place ruled by this guy called the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum. And he is stuck there. He has to figure out how to escape from there, get back to Asgard, and save it, and all that awesome superhero stuff. So, that's the plot of this movie. And I'm going to be honest, I was pretty apprehensive about going to see this one. I don't know about you guys, but every movie that comes out today is a superhero movie. And that's fine. I love superheroes. I have my whole life. I love these comic book characters. I love comics. I love some of these movies. Marvel knows what they're doing at this point. They have a formula. They know what they're doing. But for me personally, I'm starting to get a little tired of that formula. You know what I mean? All these superhero movies, especially from Marvel, they're guilty of this as much as I love them. Have a formula, they play it safe, and it's hard for me to get really excited about a lot of superhero movies nowadays. I mean, I always want to see them. All those other Marvel movies that came out earlier this year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I was excited to see that because I love the first film, and I was excited to see this new Thor movie as well. But I don't know, just for me, we're getting so many of these movies, it's like, I feel like, of course, I'm going to see them, but I'm not really excited, yes, I just kind of know I'm going to see them and that they're going to be good. Does that make sense? I think it's a combination of superhero fatigue, and also just for me, the character of Thor in general. Now, I've never been a huge fan of Thor, I've never minded him, but I wasn't too familiar with his character in the comics or anything like that. And I haven't been a huge fan of how he's been used in the MCU thus far. I wasn't a huge fan of the first Thor movie. I thought it was okay, but I was kind of disappointed by it. The second Thor movie, Thor: The Dark World, is usually regarded by most Marvel fans as probably being the weakest of all the movies yet. Which is a big shame, because Chris Hemsworth plays Thor, and he is perfect as the character. He does such a great job. And he was great in the first Avengers, but my least favorite part of the second Avengers movie was how they used Thor in that film. How they had him go on that whole subplot thing, and he was away from the other Avengers most of the time. It was the weakest part of what's otherwise an awesome movie. And I was pretty disappointed with how they used this character. And which is a shame, because I want Chris Hemsworth to succeed, because he's great in the role. Tom Hiddleston is obviously perfect as Loki. So I wanted to have a really awesome Thor movie. I wanted Marvel to succeed. I want to see this character used in a really good way. Maybe some of you may already be happy with it. Then that's fine. That's your opinion. But I wanted an awesome Thor movie. I wanted him to be in a movie that's really good and uses it really well. Thor Ragnarok does that. This is hands down the best Thor movie that's ever been made, which is not saying much, but this movie is awesome. It's entertaining, it's hilarious, and I would go as far as to say it's one of the better MCU films we've had so far. Now, the writer and director, he is the director. I'm blanking on I'm pretty sure he's a writer on it. Is he the writer? I'm blanking on it right now, sorry, but he's at least the director, and he's also acts in the film, is a director named Taika Waititi. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And he is a really talented director. He's made some movies like Boy, Eagle vs. Shark, What We Do in the Shadows, I think it's called. A bunch of, independent films, a lot of comedies. He made a movie that I love, really enjoyed, called Hunt for the Wilder People. That came out last year, I believe. And that is a hilarious movie. I watched it again recently. And he's definitely kind of an oddball choice to pick to direct a big budget film like this, like a Marvel movie. But this movie definitely has Taika Waititi's style. This movie is hilarious, it's really colorful, you could tell it's coming from a filmmaker's vision. One of my problems with the other MCU films, not all of them, but a good deal of them, is that they always just kind of feel by committee. They feel like, you could tell that Kevin Feige, who is the producer of all these movies, is not, they have a style, they have a formula. Taika Waititi, similar to James Gunn in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, is allowed to put more of his style in here. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with the by committee thing. It speaks for itself. The movies are all awesome. But I like it when a filmmaker is allowed to really do his thing and put his own style and voice in a movie. And he definitely was allowed to do this here. Thor Ragnarok is a hilarious movie. You can tell that this guy has directed some of the best comedies in recent years. Because this movie is pretty much more of a comedy than it is, I would even say, more of like a fantasy or an action movie. There is fantasy, there is some awesome action scenes, but it's more of a comedy. I read an interview with Taika Waititi, and he said like 80% of this movie was improvised. If that's true, that's pretty impressive. And there's definitely scenes where you could tell, because this is such a funny movie. It's hilarious. Chris Hemsworth is the best he's ever been here. I've loved him as Thor in the past, and he is given the opportunity to shine like never before in this role. He's hysterically funny. He's a great, great hero in this movie, and he's awesome. All the cast is good. I believe her name is Tessa Thompson, who plays like Valkyrie in this movie. She's great. There's a bunch of cameos in the movie, which are really fun, that I'm so glad I didn't know they were coming until I saw the film. But really good stuff, really funny stuff. The whole cast is great. Jeff Goldblum is in this film as the Grandmaster. I love Jeff Goldblum, and man, we get some Jeff Goldblum goodness in here, because he is just insane in this movie, and I loved every second of it. He basically is just playing a version of Jeff Goldblum. You could tell that they're just letting him kind of do whatever he wants with his old quirks and stuff. You know what I mean? Like how we imagine him. But it works. He's awesome. He's hilarious. It's not a big spoiler to say that the Hulk is in this movie. In fact, some of the Planet Hulk storyline from the comics, which I loved, is in this movie. They incorporate some of those story kind of arcs, and it's awesome to see him. I mean, Mark Ruffalo's the best Bruce Banner we've ever had, and he's awesome in this movie. The Hulk is awesome. I love seeing Hulk and the Thor team up together. That was great. This is a lovely looking movie. It's colorful and big and huge and entertaining. It's everything you want in a big superhero movie like this. Overall, Thor Ragnarok is a great time at the movies. And I think those who are big Thor fans and are big Marvel fans will love this movie. I'm pretty sure they're going to have seen multiple times. It's just so fun and entertaining to watch. Thor Ragnarok isn't a perfect film. It does have some flaws, and I would say it does suffer from some of the normal kind of Marvel cliches I was talking about earlier. I don't mean to sound like I'm dissing the Marvel movies. They're all awesome. They're making many a year, and they deserve all the praise they got. But it does suffer from some of the typical cliches we can expect from these movies. Mark Mothersbaugh is one of my favorite composers, and he is the composer on this movie. And some of his pieces are really good, but some of them are unfortunately just sort of background noise. It's not the most recognizable musical score, and it's good, it's fine, but it's not as great as some of Mark Mothersbaugh's other scores, which I was a little disappointed by. There are times where the comedy is just maybe a little too strong. I mean, there's scenes that are trying to be played more for dramatic effect, but then they put on multiple jokes. I mean, there's scenes where the movie almost stops to tell jokes, if that makes sense, and it's like a little too much at times, which is hard because this movie's so hilarious, but there are some scenes where you can tell the quote-unquote serious scenes where maybe they push a joke too many and that sort of thing. There are aspects of the story which are a little predictable, and I hate to say it, but one of my biggest issues with this movie is probably the way they use the villain. So the villain in this movie is Hela, played by the great Cate Blanchett. She is an incredible actress, and she's really good in this movie. She gets a big, evil part, and you could tell that she's having fun playing the role. But, unfortunately, at the end of the day, Hela's just kind of a one-dimensional character. Marvel's gotten a lot of flack for that, for their villains, and how they're usually just sort of one-dimensional, there just for the plot. And that's probably almost all superhero movies nowadays, it seems. And Hela, at the end of the day, is just sort of a cliched villain. She does have a little bit of an interesting story, but not much. She's just kind of there to be the plot point, the villain, and it works. It's not bad. I was just hoping that because you got such a great actress in Cate Blanchett, that you would give her a lot more to do. But unfortunately, she's just kind of a typical villain. She's just, there's a big part of the movie about her wanting to do executions and other evil stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay. I mean, we've seen this before. So it's good, but I wanted more. I would say the biggest issue I have with this movie, though, is some of the pacing in the second act. I would say the movie basically kind of goes in between the planet Hulk is on and Thor's on, and Asgard, where Hela's taking over and she's taking evil stuff. And pretty much every time they cut back to Asgard, it does drag just a little bit. It's just kind of like, okay, this is good, but can we please get back to Thor and all the awesome, funny stuff that's going on with him? Because every time they cut back to Asgard, it just feels like, and now, back to the plot, And it's not where the movie is strongest. It's just a little predictable stuff with Hela doing evil stuff, and they don't spend a lot of time in Asgard. There's only a few parts where they do that, but for me, that's where the movie does try to drag a bit. And I think the filmmakers knew it, because they don't spend a lot of time there. They're just like a few, okay, let's go back here. Now let's get back to the meat and the goodness of the movie. Those are my main problems with Thor Ragnarok. And so, but overall, that's about it. It's a very entertaining movie. I think Marvel fans will love it. And it's just pretty much what most people, I think, wanted a superhero movie. I loved the third act of this movie, especially because there is a bit more going on with Thor and his character that I thought was pretty moving. Sometimes Marvel and a lot of movies nowadays can feel a little slight. They don't feel like they have a lot of weight. But they at least tried to do that, especially in this movie, especially in the third act. I liked what they did with Thor and Loki and their characters. That was great. And overall, Thor Ragnarok is a fun movie. I'm going to give it a B+. Guys, if you love Thor, if you love Marvel, check this out. You're going to love it. It's an awesome movie. It gets my recommendation. And Marvel's going to keep going. The one I'm most excited for is Black Panther. Man, that movie is going to be awesome. So guys, have you seen this movie? If you have seen it, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. Are you guys excited for the next Avengers movie? You guys excited for Black Panther? Where do you want to see Marvel go next? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And never forget, I'm your friend. I'm always going to be there for you. You guys are the best, and I will see you next time.